some big thinking coming in the first podcast of 2024. But
I know.
Welcome to Fika's Focus. Voices leading change.
Kia ora everyone. Whoa, 2024. Kia ora, Shay. How are you?
I'm good, thanks.
Happy New Year. Big year.
So excited.
Yeah, we've already been having a real cool chat this morning, so we're just going to really lead off in that. We were talking about, we actually started on a problem, and the problem was that was presented to ourselves is that in the ngāhi space, in our preschool space, there seems to be, or there's a perception that there is not as much time available to plan, and just purely on the fact that in our pepe space, their numbers are smaller, are lower. So that means, and they have more windows where kids are sleeping and things, so they can actually squeeze in opportunities to plan and things like that.
Yeah, I think it can be quite busy in the ngā room space where you're sort of almost just capturing moments or setting up experiences or provocations. And then you take the photos and then you know, when you get time, you write the learning story. But how good would it be to have a bit more time where we can sit down and actually break things down a little bit more like what you and I talked about? With our wording, and I think just having those real deep chats about the learning we're seeing. So
just going back into that space, so then what we're talking about and the challenge I posed was, okay, then what are the advantages for being able to work in the ngāhi raka space? Yes. What advantages are there? Because if we look at it for the deficit mindset, we're always going to find things that are not fair or, you know, don't work, or that's not, you know, blah, blah, blah. That's very easy to do, but actually that's not what we're about. And where did we land? We kind of landed at the fact of around way more independence. Yeah. And so what opportunities did we discuss there that kind of opens up?
We chatted about like opportunities to use group times and include like the voice of tamariki and actually include them within the planning, whether that looks like, you know, sitting down at the table and we're just having a normal conversation. Even sitting down and offering those times and spaces of asking children what it is that they do at home and what they bring in, and then it begins those conversations with other children where we're sharing like similar language and knowledge.
Yes.
That's actually can be included within our planning too.
So in that space we're talking about, well, we discussed, okay, I discussed a kōrero with a couple of friends. One of them's an engineer, and we were talking about that engineers' roles, they get given a task, they have to solve something, and so they create a solution, they implement the solution, it gives them feedback immediately. So, right, we're going to create this part. Yes, it's meeting this need and this need, but oh no, the feedback is it doesn't meet that need. So we take that part out, re-engineer that part, put it back in, get some feedback, and it just is a continual feedback loop until effectively we get it right. That was the precursor to us discussing about us becoming, essentially, we are educational engineers, right? And that's what we see. We see children, they present live, instantaneous feedback. Either by saying, I love this experience, I'm really passionate about dinosaurs, or my paint, or my artwork, or cool, there's the immediate feedback. Then the problem becomes that they don't know, you know, their attention wanes, or they lose points of concentration, or they actually just don't know where to go from there. And then our role is to engineer or solution, right? So what do you think that looks like in a experience? If we're sitting around a table with some kids, what do you think that would look like? What would be the role of the teacher in that space?
What I'm picturing in my mind as you say that is probably a messy play provocation, where maybe the kaiako has come in with an idea and sort of just laid it out to see how the children respond to it. They go in, they do their messy play things. But like you
Yes.
said, the attention wanes out. So then you, as a kaiako, sort of think, what more could I add now? Or how could I steer it into a different direction? So if it's like corn flour, is it the color you're going to now add? Or maybe you can add ice to it to see what then happens. And I think in terms of engineering, then helps the tamariki to then extend on to something different because you have then added in the next thing.
Yes.
That makes sense.
And then at what point do they also, they being the children, they also join the engineering process as well?
Yeah. By maybe adding in their own things that they've found that they want to use with it. It could
Yes.
be like the bowls and the spoons, and a lot of the time, especially outside, we'll have lots of friends just go and collect their own resources that they need for it.
Yes.
Whether it be leaves, dinosaurs, animals,
Sand,
Yeah.
water. Yeah.
Yeah.
They start to be involved in the engineering process themselves.
Yeah.
So when we are facilitating an engineering experience or engineering an experience for children, the beauty of what I see in ECE is that there's actually no end.
Yeah. Yes.
Right? Like, it was always weird to me as a primary school teacher not being able to carry on with something that kids were really passionate about because the term ended.
Yeah. Yep.
And you were expected to, your term's ended. You got to do something else.
Yeah.
That was weird to me.
Yeah.
Because I was like, yeah, but the kids love it.
Yeah. And I can understand that because I guess here in ECE, it's actually just an all year round thing because the
Yes.
passion actually hasn't stopped.
Yes.
Yeah.
And there's no definitive break.
Yeah.
And see, these are the advantages. So let's just pull back again.
Mhm.
This is the advantages of ECE. There are no bells. So that for a starter, because actually bells do not determine what life. It'd be great if life was like that, right? If we all just stopped
Yeah.
at 10:30, everyone stopped their work and we just all sat down and we all just had some morning tea, sat down together, walked out into the street and we all sat down together and argued about who's got the best lunch and shared who's got the roll up or whatever. And then lunchtime, everyone just stopped, and you had to go and play, put your hat on, like actually it doesn't really mirror life. This does.
Yeah.
Yeah, we do have to stop for lunch and stuff,
Yeah.
but we're way more fluid, especially at rolling kai and
Yeah.
morning tea. And we actually will not stop children. We will not engineer a situation and then put a big kibosh on it. That's actually the real advantage of what early learning presents, right?
Yeah.
And we actually move well with where the kids sit as well.
Yes. That I love so much about ECE is that every day, almost every hour, and brings something new. And we can see in our kaiako, like through their passions, that they're constantly thinking, okay, what could I offer next? Or is this a good time, to head into this?
Do I step in or do I step out?
Yes.
Do I, what am I doing here? And you're not adopting a role as a firefighter. That's, I think, what I see go on in many of our spaces quite often is it's just that there is a deliberate desire to continue or add continuation into the experience so that the child's curiosity and actual just joy really lives.
Yeah.
Mm.
I think too, like a good reminder for kaiako to actually sit back and let those things unfold.
Agreed.
And actually watch it for yourself. I know Kaiako Armin always talks about like setting up, but also sitting back to just see what's going to happen. You actually start to see the peers and the groups actually problem solving on their own because they know that they're so safe and comfortable in the space to do so. And that's something I've actually found quite challenging for me, is to learn to actually sit back and watch. I'm such a...
And going back to language,
Yeah.
if you were to structure language out in that way and looking at how Kaiako Armin is operating, the sit up and sit back approach, and that's an actual language piece you could facilitate.
Yeah.
in this room we set up and sit back, and in the setup phase, this is what we do. We identify the roles. This is what our role is at that time. In the sit back phase, this is our role. This is what we do. We and in that time, that's where the planning goes. Or that's where do you know what I mean? Like,
yes,
that's that the sit up and sit back. That could be the structure of anything. It's very clear and specific, and it allows us to continue to engineer the experience, because when we're setting up, we're talking to children, we're watching what's going on, we're implementing our intent, then they bring their will into the experience, and they start to engineer their own experience. And in the sit back phase, we're onto something actually here. I need to make sure we record the notes on this, because actually this is probably, we're talking about a shared language or a piece of group of languages that in a pure planning space, setting up and sitting back is actually a very cool way to look at it. So in that space too, kaiako passions.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
Because it's a nice segue into that.
Yeah.
What does it look like when you've come in, with a passion that you want to help children with? What does that look like in implementation in the setup phase?
What first comes to my mind is maybe things we've missed out within our own childhood, or something we really, really loved and we remember so well. And these are things we are thinking we want to offer to the tamariki here. And I know Kaiako Aliana is so great at that. It's almost nostalgic for her to set up the things that she does.
Yes.
So then you see the passions coming through, because she's then researching more.
So, like, gardening's a great one. Tony and Armin are like, they love that stuff.
And we're already in the pipelines of how do we kickstart that off again this year, because they remember it so well.
Yeah.
Because they look at the garden.
I remember it.
They go to the garden, they're like, wow, every day, as if it's
like,
something new.
Radishes. But in that setup phase, the real role, you are the passion driver initially. But the real in the sitting back phase, what we will get a chance to see is whether our passion's been communicated. Has it landed?
Yeah.
Has the passion landed for a starter? Yes, no. So there's the feedback loop already starting.
Yeah.
And then the second part is like, okay, cool, it has landed. So then what do I do now to extend them?
Yeah.
What am I engineering now?
Yeah.
So I'm thinking live here. We've got a set up phase, we've got a sit back phase, then we've got a seeking out phase.
Yeah.
Because in the setting up, we're implementing our passion, our desire, our whatever. In the sit back phase, we're planning and assessing and seeing what's going on.
Yeah.
Then in the seek out, we're like, right, cool, what's next? How do we add in? What's our next engineering move? Da 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 da. It almost revolves in that way.
Yes.
Then it comes back to a set up phase again.
Yeah.
Once we've sort out whatever it is the feedback was from the experience, the passion, the children, it comes back into the setup, and actually it does allow our passion to continue to really grow.
It does. It really does. And then I think that's when, at the beginning of this conversation, we put so much time and effort into the setting up, the observing and all of that. How do you then find all the time to then put that into a document?
Yes.
Can be that area of problems, but
a meaningful document.
Yes.
So not junk that we just want to do because the ministry need it, but actually something that continues to inform us about a child's progress.
Yeah.
And actually also really lights the flames of teachers, of our kaiako, that they are like, yes, I'm actually in my passion. Yes. I actually love this.
Yeah.
Set up, sit back, seek out, set up, and I'm in that feedback loop, and that's the documentation. Yes, I think though, as teachers, we tend to keep the ministry in mind all the time. Really, we probably should just know that there are glimpses. If there's enough evidence through anecdotal capture, I
Yeah.
think we'll be sweet.
Yeah.
Maybe the ministry will watch this and growl us. I don't know. We'll find out. But what I'm saying is, in that setting, is capturing something must be meaningful first and foremost to the child.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
You know, and second to the actual kaiako, and then third to you know, your team, and then the community that you're operating within.
Yeah.
So what does it look like if we're in a setup phase? What do you think that looks like in documentation? Just an initial notes. What does it look like?
Yeah. I would think, like, actually, I've taken from you that it can be little, I don't know, narratives, or, you know, nothing so big that makes it feel impossible. Just little glimpses with photos to track the journey along the way.
Yeah.
And I think that's quite meaningful.
At the Kohanga Reo down here, Te Ako, down on Hartford Ave, we were there a couple of years ago now that it's 2024, but they had, we were talking about the portfolio books, and that's all they had in terms of what they were presenting around learning. But man, anecdotally, what they had captured was just stunning and simple.
Yes.
And I think a lot of things we've been talking about in the Leadership Council is around time frame and parameter.
Yeah.
You know, time frame and parameter. If you, and the hard thing with like terrace views sometimes, because it's so big, you often fall victim to it because it's just so big.
Yeah.
You know, no matter what you've got set up in the setup base, it still looks empty.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So what you've got to do is and that's what Armin's, I know I see Armin and I've seen you guys do it really well, is you corner spots off and you section things off. But actually in the planning, we've got to do that too. Yeah. If I give you a plan, that overwhelms people. Yeah. And whereas in the setup phase, if I've got like a card or a future focus bubble or whatever, and I'm like, and it's a setup bubble, and it's like, boom, I slap it in, and I write quick thoughts, messy play, dealing with corn flour and water and dye, blah, blah, blah. And it might say intent, dealing with textures and, you know, exploring that. So that's my initial planning. And then it might have something, another little bubble or something that's like, and I'm just thinking out live here. This is actually,
absolutely. I love it.
You know, I'm just spitballing really. Then I put in another little one on this side, and then it says, what did I notice? Yeah. And that's in the sit back phase. Might be a sit back bubble. Oh, Shay loved running it through her fingers. Not a fan of the dyes. You know, Sammy kept adding in sand and it was gritty and, you know, so that's what I'm noticing in the sit back phase. And then boom, third bubble, seek out. I'm going to implement this, and this, and try this. Kid 1, Kid 2, Kid 3, Kid 4. 3 little bubbles versus a big page. Yeah. Changed it, right? I've absolutely changed the tone of what it looks like. It doesn't overwhelm me, you know, because if I turn up and say, right, here's your page, here's your A3 page, I need to see what you're planning. Yeah. People balk. And actually what we discussed was that the word planning doesn't inspire.
No.
It doesn't get us going, yes.
It reminds you of how much you have left to do.
Yes. Yeah. It just comes onto your to-do list. It's just got a permanent spot on the to-do list. Yeah, that's dreadful, actually, now that I say that out loud. We were talking about that planning is also, should be, in my opinion, this is just my opinion, it should be an open end.
Yes, and I think the more you talked into that, I understand and can see it a wee bit different, because not that we are striving to meet end goals, but to see a focus or outcomes you are working towards and then keep opening it up in that extension. I think that's what comes to my mind when you say open-ended planning. Yeah.
The reason being is you can plan. Well, I listened to Lex Friedman. He did the first ever long form podcast with Jeff Bezos, and he was talking. Jeff Bezos was talking about the Glen. That's the rocket that they're building to get up to space, and the first launch is going to be this year. What he was talking about is they have absolutely gone through every single possible outcome that could happen.
Yeah.
However, when the thing starts flying, things are going to present itself that they've never predicted. It's just going to.
Yeah.
Now, when I think about that experience, and I was out for a walk thinking through that experience and what does that look like and sound like for us. Actually, if you come in with a closed frame, number one, you're left vulnerable, because if it doesn't work how you want it to work, you're really in trouble.
Yeah.
Because you won't see the options. You won't see the options that are presenting itself. You know, that's when I start to see teachers shutting down what kids are doing.
Yeah.
You know, oh, no. Oh, no, we're not doing that. Oh, no, hey, keep your hands out of that. Oh, no, you can't touch that. And we start hearing this again. It's a deficit approach. It's because actually the plan has got a big ring around it.
Yeah.
That the kids actually didn't even have a chance to. Well, they wouldn't put a ring around it.
Yeah.
It's only put around by the person who holds the power, really.
Yeah.
So how do we eliminate that?
I think just keep nurturing the whole their approach of like they come as they are and who they are.
Yes.
You know, that we're not shaping tamariki to fit into a box.
Yes.
They come as they are. They come with what they bring, and we're just continuing to find ways to implement that here. Yeah.
It's trying to not get sucked into putting finite, Simon Sinek talks a wee bit to it about there is no end in play. There is no end. Play is play.
Yep.
You know, like only as adults do we end play.
Yes.
You know, it's fascinating to watch in our spaces because a child could literally play in the same thing for 10 hours in our day, right? We've got a 10-hour window.
Yeah.
They could walk in at 7:30, pick something up and stick with that thing the whole day.
Yeah.
Start to finish. And the only times we have to really intervene is to help them go to the bathroom and put some kai into their body.
Yeah.
But going back to what you're talking about with our passions, actually, my passions was freedom.
Freedom of play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jumping on my bike, my parents saying, be home before dark.
Yeah.
And just going, right?
Yeah.
And unfortunately, in today's world, that's not the reality.
Yeah.
But we can facilitate that here.
Yes, absolutely. The freedom of play and the freedom of being you.
Yeah. So pulling back to that planning space, that setup phase, or that cycle that we've just discussed, one of the major intents got to be about not shutting anything down.
Yeah.
Yeah. In that seek out phase, it's got to be quite critical. There's got to be some. We've got to really structure up some questions in there that ask the individual implementing it to. Are you getting in the way of the kids?
Yeah.
You know. We do get in the way.
Yeah, I think there definitely are times that we are getting in the way. And I think there are times where maybe other kaiako are getting in the way of other kaiako too.
Oh, yes.
You know, like if you feel passionate about something, and I guess this is my nature too, and everyone will know this, is I'm just like, go for it. You know, everything is like, try it, trial it.
Yes.
If it didn't work, it didn't work.
Yes.
But please do it again.
And we're like that too.
Yeah.
You know.
And so it's really cool to have that sort of approach within our ECE rooms, because that's what we want for the tamariki too. We don't ever want to see them go, oh no, I'm not going to try that, because your response to them is go, but you can do it. So why are we not giving the same to kaiako?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, no, we are.
Yeah.
Right. I think we've really made some major inroads into allowing to breaking. It's taken us 5 years, but to break down this innate fear that people have of things not going well.
Yes. Yeah. And you talked about the impacts of society having that pushed onto us.
That failure is a bad thing.
Yeah.
You know, and one of my goals this year is continuing to work really hard on my reactions, especially with my kids.
Yeah.
I find my reactions are what causes the most stress and damage for my children, because I get peeved off about something they've done when really I should just stop and just listen and see what's going on and actually and I think we as kaiako can be quite hard on one another around that, especially if our perceptions don't align with their passions. You know, and it can be, it's a real strength of the Ngāhi space here, and you've got a very diverse team. You've got Punjabi, Japanese, Māori, you know, like it's a very diverse.
But I honestly don't know otherwise. Like, that's what I began my ECE career with.
Yes, right.
And so that is very normal to me.
Yes.
Yeah. Which is so great. And then it's almost like, how do you then break our team down? What can we all bring that's different? But how can we also show the want to learn about each other?
Yes. Well, if it's not again, the question we continue to ask, and this is still going to drive a lot of what we're doing, does the environment reflect our aspiration? We cannot expect our kaiako to work with children and not put their fears and biases in on them if we are going to do that to one another. And as a leadership council, we are going to do it. Just won't work. That permeates. It follows the same route. You know, in John Maxwell's book, the 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership, one of the laws is the law of the lid, and the law of the lid discusses the fact that a person's organizational leadership will be the absolute limiter of where they go. And he gives the example of the McDonald's brothers, that they had 10 McDonald's, but until the guy Kroc came in, their lid was that was it. They were like, nah, that's all we can do, 10. Even though he recognized we can build an absolute scalable business based on the fact that we all love burgers. And those guys' lids, the McDonald brothers, they don't own it anymore, this guy Kroc did, but he implemented organizational leadership that allowed the flourishment of what we know now today. And I think in the book it said 38,000 McDonald's now.
Wow.
Or 40,000 McDonald's, whatever. Where I'm going with this is, if we cannot facilitate in a leadership space, and not just meaning the council, but actually you as a kaimahi in that space, if we cannot facilitate opportunity for people to absolutely trial, fall over, be praised for falling over, pick them back up in that loop, we can't expect kids to do that.
Yeah.
That's an absolute fallacy if we believe that we want kids to execute that, but we won't let teachers do that.
Yeah.
It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah. Yeah, I hear you on that one.
Some big thinking coming in the first podcast of 2024. But,
I know. I'm actually feeling very inspired today. Like, I wasn't actually thinking that I would be thinking more today. You know, like, it's Friday, sort of came in with, you know, my normal Friday day feels.
Yeah.
But you've actually helped me to think bigger. And how you've talked about how do we change out the wording, that's really stuck with me, and I'm really excited to see how we can drive passions or use the tamariki's voice
Yes.
to
Yeah.
really drive what we're going to provide this year, which is real exciting.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Well, that's a banger of a start for, for 2024. I don't. I look forward. If just to close the loop on it, I think. What do you think is an action you're going to take?
I think one of the first actions I want to take is to just kōrero with my teammates and see where is everyone at, and have gained some sort of understanding of what are they feeling.
So, as an organisation, what should we be prioritising for you in the next week so that you can achieve that?
Honestly, I don't know what could be prioritized other than like just
Time.
have my team here.
Yes. Yeah. Hurry up, Ash. Get back.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. Okay. Yeah. I think I look forward to seeing what happens even in the next week, because I think now we've got to use a bit of urgency to start to get towards this. But and you've certainly got the makings of a great team. Like, they're pretty good already. There's no doubt about that. But I think they're, like I said last year, I believe that this team's so ready to launch. And these sorts of discussions are what are going to drive that. So, Shay, I really appreciate the discussion. I don't even know if this is a fill the gap or whatever, but it's been a fantastic discussion today. Thank you very much.
Thank you.